Hello, everybody. Happy whatever day it is. It's Friday. Shout out Rebecca Black. Does everyone remember Rebecca Black? Friday. I hope y'all are doing well. We are chatting squat, bench, deadlift today. I'm going to give you some of the best cues, some of my favorite accessories, some training considerations for training powerlifting. Now, in powerlifting right now, it is actually the craziest time ever. It's hard to comprehend how wild powerlifting is. You have Colton Engelbrecht, the first person ever to squat and deadlift 1,000 in a meet. After he does that and sets a new DOTS world record, a pound for pound world record, he then goes and pulls 500 kilos just for fun. No idea what's going on. Then you have Lifts by Lou, and this dude has no powerlifting experience at all, and he squats 1,000 in his first powerlifting meet. He's literally has the fourth highest total all time in his first powerlifting meet. It's so bizarre. The strength world is absolutely insane right now. Really exciting time to be a fan. So timely. Let's talk about powerlifting and let's talk about squat, bench, deadlift. Now, this is the foundation of strongman. You add in overhead presses and you are all sorted. In terms of squatting, benching, and deadlifting, first let's talk general programming considerations and what we're actually doing when we're trying to get strong. The number one thing is that we're training the nervous system. Strength is a skill that can be trained. Strength is not muscle mass. They are correlated, but not 100%. Colton is 265 pounds and is the strongest person ever. The skill is, can your brain talk to your body in a way that's most efficient and moves the most amount of weight? If we accept that we're trying to build these neural connections between our brain and our body, the more frequently you can do something, the better off you are. Something like walking literally is inbuilt into our spine because our bodies do it so often. If you can get your squat, deadlift, bench into a good pattern, let's throw overhead press in there as well, you're going to be in a great spot. Now, there are juxtaposed parts to this. One of those parts is that you want to train as often as possible, but you need some ability to recover. You can't do these 7 days a week. So how often do you train? That's something to address. Another is, how intensely do you train? If you went max out squat, you're probably not going to have a good deadlift for 3 or 4 days afterwards as well. Therefore, you're going to have extremely infrequent training. And this is where bodybuilding and strongman, strength sports, powerlifting, where they're all very, very different from each other. So those are really our main considerations for training strength. And powerlifting principles are the same as strongman principles. They're just much simpler to talk about. So when we talk about squatting, benching, and deadlifting, in terms of hierarchy, when it comes to sympathetic fatigue, the most fatiguing one is going to be your deadlifts for sure. Second is squats, and way below that is bench press. This is important to consider because this means you train deadlifts least intensely and least frequently. Bench press, you can train more intensely and more frequently. Of course, the heavier you go and the more intense you go, the more specific the practice is going to be to translate to your 1 rep max. So a good rule of thumb, deadlift, you can train this 1 time per week if you are anywhere past a novice lifter. This is anywhere past 1 year to 18 months of regular experience. When it comes to your squats, you could train squats 2 to 3 times a week on top of that deadlift, so long as all 3 of those sessions aren't of maximal effort. We'll talk about intensity in a second. And for bench presses, you can train this anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, depending on your mobility. Now, your mobility is the biggest consideration because when you have to get yourself back into a squatted position, it's easy for your elbows to take a load, your wrists to take a load, your shoulders to take a load. And if they do, you're going to have a difficult time recovering. You're going to run into shoulder pain, wrist pain, elbow pain. In powerlifting, almost always, wrist pain and shoulder pain come because of limits in external rotation to be able to get in a good squatting position. Now, that's the frequency conversation. When it comes to the intensity conversation, deadlifts are going to be least intense. If you're not peaking into a show, we're talking 7 out of 10 efforts, maybe 8 out of 10 maximum, but at least 2 to 3 reps left in the tank at all times. With squats, you're going to be at an 8 almost always, unless you're peaking for a show and you're in those vital weeks. And an 8 out of 10 means that you're going to leave 2 reps in the tank. For bench presses, I'm fine. 8 to 9 out of 10. That's okay. That's 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. Now, none of these should be done to a 10 out of 10 on a regular basis. If you're failing lifts, you are lifting too heavy for sure, especially when it comes to powerlifting. In strongman, there are more technical reasons, but in powerlifting, ultimately, you're kind of stronger or not as strong. So That's the frequency conversation. That's the intensity conversation. I mentioned peaking into a show, and let's talk about how that changes things. If you say in 8 weeks' time, I want to hit the biggest bench press that I possibly can, the biggest powerlifting total. Well, over a short period of time, you're able to overextend yourself. And this is where we overextend the intensity and we scale back the volume. That way we burn out the sympathetic system the least amount possible while still pushing very hard. So over the course of 8 weeks, you're going to start dropping off accessories. You're going to start building intensity and lifts. And towards week 6 and 7 of this presumed 8-week prep, you're going to be hitting weights that maybe you never have before, but they're somewhere between a 9.5 and a 10 effort, maybe 9 to 9.5. But very, very difficult. You get under the bar or you step up to the bar and you're not sure if you're going to be able to lift it with 100% confidence. These lifts are giving you the best indication possible what you might be able to do on competition day. Now, as you build up intensity across these 3 lifts, as you get more and more sympathetic fatigue, you're going to give these weights a really good attempt, maybe hit a new PB, but the goal is to do these 6 to 7 maybe weeks throughout this peak. Because the last week to 2 weeks, you're going to want to rest as much as possible. Now, this doesn't mean absolute rest. This means sympathetic nervous system rest. That means we drop loads off the top. We take 20 to 30% off. We take a lot off of our sets, down to 50% of what you've done before. So you do only the movement patterns that you're going to do in competition. You stay fresh as best you can, but you do nothing extra. That way, your sympathetic nervous system is reset, fresh, ready to go for competition day. On competition day, when you do this right, you'll notice that you pick up a squat and it feels 20% lighter than it did on your last heavy training session. Not because you're 20% stronger, but just because you're firing much better. Now, it doesn't feel that way once you start to squat, but just the adrenaline and the feeling makes it feel much more, you feel much more capable. Now, after the competition, when you go into off season, this means you're going to go into a less intense phase, more volume phase, and often this is a hypertrophy phase or a muscle building phase. And in this phase, you're going to do a lot more accessories, a lot more isolation work, a lot of building the weaknesses to be able to have a higher total in the future. Building cross-sectional area of muscle, yes, that is still very important. Even though strength is a skill, it's like how driving is a skill, and you can get really good at how fast you move the stick shift. But ultimately, if you have a bigger engine, you're always going to be at an advantage. That's the best way to think about building muscle mass. Lastly, let's talk about accessories. Then I'll get to any questions that you guys have, but let's talk about accessories for squat, bench, and deadlift. The best accessory is really dependent on the individual. So I'm going to give you some based on your problem. Let's say in squats, you lean over quite a bit in squats because you have a long femur. Your best bet when it comes to improving that squat is going to be doing things that strengthen your posterior chain. Now, these are things like good mornings, things like hamstring curls, things like glute bridges, things like back extensions, depending on what time of year and how much you want that to translate. Good mornings being the most translatable, all the way over to hamstring curls being the least likely to translate, or least quick to translate, I should say. If you have a shorter femur and you squat quite upright, well, this is a great time to use a safety squat bar, a front squat, leg extensions, or even calf raises, because you put pressure into your toes and your calves are going to be a part of being able to help lift this weight. That's going to be your best go-to if you have shorter femurs and you squat upright. For bench press is really an upper back and tricep competition. You'll never see anyone with a good bench press without big traps and without big triceps. This is because traps build the foundation for a strong bench press, and triceps, of course, lock the bench press out. For me, my favorite tricep exercise is a JM press. And in terms of upper back, things like face pulls and high rows are going to be your go-tos. For deadlift, this is going to depend on where the sticking point is. If this sticking point is on the ground and you struggle to break the floor, your best bet is to do things that break the momentum off of the floor, make things more difficult at the bottom. The number one error is thinking that this means you should be doing deficit deadlifts, but this isn't true, because you can coil yourself up for deficit deadlifts, and you could be better at deficit deadlifts than you are at conventional deadlifts. I would recommend using a stiff bar, a power bar, a snatch grip deadlift to build a really strong position off of the floor. That is going to be your best go-to. Now, for building strong lockout positions, you're going to want to go to things that stop momentum from the floor to your knee. This is because at lighter weights, you're going to blow through that sticking point, and that's why it doesn't show up until things get very heavy. If we go to rack pulls, you adopt an entirely different position than you would if you were just doing a full deadlift. And so you adopt this more upright position. This then gives you a mechanical advantage. You're going to be able to rack pull insane amounts of weight, and it doesn't really translate over to conventional deadlifts the same way. Things to strengthen the movement off of the floor. I'm going tempo deadlift, and things to strengthen your lockout. I'm going tempo deadlift, so that you have to control every part of the movement, and I'm going pause deadlift. Pause 2 inches off of the floor. If you can pause 2 inches off of the floor, maintain that position, and then build the strength up into the top half, well, you now have to pull through the top half rather than explode through the first half and carry the momentum through the second half. So that is my 15-minute spiel on powerlifting, on how to build the powerlifting total the best way that you can, how you structure that throughout the year, the best accessories, generally speaking. I'm happy to take individual questions on this, but that is my 2 cents. Going to say hello to a number of people now. Happy Friday. Get those likes in, and thank you for joining along. Dylan 7, 2 500-kilo attempts back-to-back is wild. I don't know about Colton deadlifting 2 back-to-back. Maybe he tried it without straps first. But regardless, he is absolutely insane. That Lou guy is insane. Yeah, and he seems like a really nice dude. He's super humble. I've been chatting to him a little bit on Instagram. I'd love to go train with him someday because he is off the charts. Quinn, is squatting completely vertical as opposed to a slight forward lean better or worse? It's all femur length dependent. If you have short femurs, you're going to squat upright like dwarfs do. If you're a taller person, generally you're going to have a longer femur, and so you're going to hinge over more. It's just dependence on you as an individual. Jace, 14 months on the Moose Crew. Good work, dude. Well done, brother. Thank you very much for the support. You are a legend. Vocad, yes, I can see the chat. Hello. I heard you dropped to the 505 deadlift. Why is that? I've done a couple of YouTube videos on this. Ultimately, I'm not going to be able to do it this year. My body is just not in the spot. 2 weeks out from Worlds, if you put 505 on a bar, I absolutely would have been able to do it. But since that point, I've just kind of fallen apart more and more and more. And so me trusting myself to have that top end strength, I'm going to fail it for sure. And it's going to end my career if I continue to push myself hard. I'm not interested in doing that. So I just need a short rest. I can't think of another sport or even another athlete who has to make an announcement that, like, yes, I am not competing for 3 months. Like, I've competed so often and so regularly that I just need a bit of a reset. I've competed 26 times in the past 3 years. It's a lot of shows. It's my longest off season has been about 4 weeks. So I just need one off season. In 4 years is what I'm asking for. And that's it. I 100% intend to come back next year and give this another run, but give it another run in a more intelligent way where I give it a lot more individual attention, where I'm not prepping for multiple shows on the lead up to it, because I do believe that I can do it. I just have to prep properly and have everything ready to go. Dalton, dude needs an off-season to recover. Either that or he's trying to trick us into thinking he's actually human. I am actually human, unfortunately. But yeah, I just need an off-season. I literally have not had an off-season in years. So I need one. I'm out of the deadlift champs. I'm out of the strongest man on earth. I'm out of World Tour finals. The only one that I haven't confirmed or denied yet is the Rogue Invitational, but I've been in touch with them. And we're going to see. But if I prep for the Rogue Invitational, that's in the beginning of November. So that would mean beginning of September, I would need to start prep. And that's not impossible. That's totally feasible to think in 6 weeks. I'm ready to kick back into heavy training, and it would be 6 weeks, then a 8-week prep, and then 4 weeks off, and then back into prep for Arnold's Worlds. But then I'd go Arnold's Worlds and then take a chunk of time off until competitions later in the year. So that's where I'm at for this year. And I can't say anymore. That's just how my body reacts, and really what I feel like I want to do. because when you're burnt out sympathetically, you feel like you want to do less. And so I just want to get back to the place where I'm ready to attack everything. Yeah, look, it's not necessarily injuries. I will be back. Absolutely. I will be back to try it. And I think Thor's going to pull 505. So then we're chasing 510. Fine. It's not a particular injury per se, but like I can't bend my left knee all the way. My back in the mornings, if I hinge over, like I get nerve pain down the left side of my body. I've got sciatic pain going down my left side. A lot of left-sided issues right now. Very well could be because of split jerking for the Arnold and for Worlds and for um, a handful of shows. I forget what was before that, the Axel World Record. But these things just happen. It's not an injury because I would say an injury has a recovery time to it. This doesn't have a recovery time. I very well could wake up in 2 days, feel great, and start training for a show. But I just want to commit to a reset for myself and not get too anxious to get into the next thing because that is my nature. So yeah, I'll definitely 100% be back for the Arnold next year. The competition's up to then. Really, the only one up in the air is the Rogue Invitational. So that's TBD. Dalton, you're right, as per usual. Ella, hey Mitch, how you doing? So glad I made it in time to watch you live. Hello, I'm glad you're here as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Go ahead and click that like button. Everyone who's here, we'll push it out to a few more people. And maybe you'll be one of the lucky people who gets a membership from Jace Love Strength. Thank you very much, Jace, for your support. 14 months of it. You are a legend. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Okay. Hey, Mitch, you recommend deadlifts once a week, but I see many powerlifting programs, intermediate, have 2 times a week or higher. Why do you think a lot of programs have higher deadlift frequency? Well, because strength is building a skill and frequency is very useful to build that skill. But if you are anywhere near experienced, deadlifting any reasonable weight more than once a week is inappropriate, in my opinion. Now, these programs could have you deadlifting once heavy and once very light. My problem with very light lifts when we're trying to build maximal strength is that the translation of that to your maximal strength is going to be minimal. So I'm not in a position where I would say that's supported by any sort of evidence, any sort of speed work translating to 1 rep maxes. So I say if it's too light to be relative to your 1 rep max, or you're not building some sort of fatigue, you're not having any sort of hypertrophic response, you're doing a lot of work for not a lot. Comrade, you ever collab with Jordan Flagenbaum and Austin Baraki of Barbell Medicine? I don't know them, to be honest. I've never spoke to them. I'm not against collabing with anyone who puts out good information, which I would assume that they do. So I would definitely be open to it. Yeah, I don't know. All just time and energy. Dalton, 16 months, been here longer than Jace. Gifted less than Jace. Come on. Here's one. Minor rotator cuff tear. Thoughts? If it's minor, just let it have its appropriate recovery time. Don't do anything aggravating. Give it 4 to 6 weeks, and you should be good to go. Don't treat that as anything too unique. All right. So, what if my rack pull is worse than my conventional deadlift off the floor? Well, then it's going to be a back strength problem. In deadlifts, you're either looking at leg strength issues or back strength issues. This is a back strength issue, and so practicing your rack pulls for sure. Doing things like back extensions for sure. Doing things like glute bridges. You think the first half of a deadlift is a leg press, the second half is a back extension. Those are the oversimplified ways of looking at it. So doing those accessories on top of your normal deadlifts would be good. I also find if you can maintain a really stiff upper back during your deadlifts, that tends to help a lot on the upper half. So maybe you're just really good at that. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Uh, Paget 85. You're going to train hypertrophy in the meantime. Yes, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm losing some weight at the moment, in the process of dropping 20 pounds. I want to just turn myself back into an athlete again and then get strong. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I'm feeling more athletic already, even though I'm still in pain. So I'm going for runs. I've lost weight. I think I'm down maybe 7 pounds from the competition a couple of weeks ago. Um, yeah, I'd just like to be able to run and jump and sprint and all those basic things that made me really good before, that I haven't been able to do without pain in quite a while. Uh, Sean, Mitch, if you make the case you to lift with Lou, I'd love to get a lifting session with you as well. Yeah, look, maybe you could come join me and Lou. I would love to go out to Kansas City. I've been talking to another athlete who lives out in Kansas City in the off season as well. Not going to say who or what sport, but Kansas City is a growing place of interest for me, for sure. Sween, what does your off-season training look like? Are you taking any time fully off or simply lighter YouTube style stuff? Uh, yeah, I don't take any time off fully. I don't believe in taking time off fully. I still love to train. I still want to train. I still want to work hard. It's just a little bit different. So the structure that I'm taking, I took 1 week to do calisthenics. Then over the course of 4 weeks, I'm losing a bunch of weight and doing bodybuilding style training, but without compound lifts. So no barbells, unless I do a unique workout for YouTube or something, but no barbells, just isolation work. That's going to be for 4 weeks. And then after that, I'll reintroduce barbells, and see if my body is just in a better place to handle that. The clutcher, how much rest should you have between sets? Um, well, it's really dependent on how intense you go. The best indication is, do you feel ready? And that's about it. If you do a 1 rep max and you're close to your genetic potential, there's evidence to say that it could take 20 to 25 minutes between 1 rep max sets to actually get back to where you were before. But if you're an intermediate and you're moderate effort, well, you could be talking 2 or 3 minutes, but you will know. If you feel ready to go, you're probably ready to go. And that's what I would say. Definitely just feel ready. At a minimum, make sure that you're not out of breath when you start the next set. Do you think Thor will break 505? His 480 the other day looked very impressive. Yeah, his 480 was awesome. It was really good. It looks solid. If he's in that shape on that day, absolutely. The thing about Thor though is his 460 didn't look good, and then his 480 looked good. So if he's having a good day, I think he will pull 505. But he's one of those guys. He does have on days and off days, so um, we will see. Um, Will. Hey, Mitch, I've been training for over a year now, 6'3", 370. I'm struggling to get my overhead press over 225 by 7. Any tips? Yeah, biggest tip. I've been training for over a year is not near long enough. You could just be on your first plateau. Just keep going. Think about your progress over the course of 5 years, 10 years, not every month or every 6 months. Eventually, you get to a point in your training where you don't make progress constantly. And that happens periodically. So just be happy with that. Well, don't be happy with it. Be understanding of that, and understand that these things take some time. Jamie, any thoughts on doing group coaching again? Always possible. Yeah, I'm not writing anything off. The difficulty right now is I have so many things going on that it's hard for me to commit to a time to do a group call. Got a whole host of different business obligations and travel and sponsors and all of that. So I would love to be able to do it and connect with the community a bit more, but it can be difficult to be able to commit to a time. But if I can, it'd be fun to start up a group for sure. Christy, enjoy the off season. Get that feeling back you had when you started competing. You come back bigger and better. Just be ready for another quad pick. Cool. Sure, I will come back better. I don't feel like I've never felt like I'm at my peak. I've always felt like I have more to give. There's a time when you lift weight and you feel like, right, there's no way. And I haven't felt that in a long time. I know that I can do things. I know that 505, when I lifted it to my knee, it didn't feel like I couldn't ever lift it. It's just like, I know I have that in the future. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if other people have that same feeling, but there are times when I've tried to lift something where I'm like, no, that's just not going to happen. And other times where I've lifted something, I'm like, yeah, that's actually very close. So, yeah. Jace, 5 more memberships. Thank you, mate. You're a legend. Feeling generous. And the SLK 66, member for 14 months. Lots of people here for over a year. What's your most important rehab at the moment? Knee, back. Hope you recover soon. It's just generally unlocking my left side. It's left-sided back pain, left hip, left sciatica, left knee, and that's why I think all of these things can be solved pretty quickly. And I don't think they're injuries. It's just stuff that I have to take care of and I have to get right. But honestly, I think it's my back. Like, I think if I can get my back to 100%, my back and hip, my knee gets better as I don't aggravate it. But my hip is just kind of lingering around a little bit more. But I have faith that it will not be too much longer. Scott, you're the best, Mitch. Thank you, mate. After a break, I've started lifting weights again thanks to you. Appreciate you, the content, and seeing you compete. Well, thank you very much. Hang around a little bit, and I will compete more often. Well, I will compete again next year, but I'll compete a little bit less often, turn up to major shows in unbelievable shape, and yeah. Dalton will compare the percent of LHBK product line with Jace anytime. 100%. That's funny. Ryan, is it possible to strict press 315 with 240 body weight 100% naturally? Yes, I believe so. You would need good genetics for sure, but I think that's definitely possible. Dave, really enjoying the channel. Interesting to learn the difference in training frequency per lift. Can training hip sled versus squat be a good alternative for legs at 50 plus to save knees? For sure, but don't think about saving your knees as squatting less. Good, strong, resilient knees that move through a full range of motion is achieved through squatting. So if you follow good recovery principles, you don't overextend yourself, your intensity is good, your frequency is good. Squatting can actually help you have healthier knees for a longer time. Our knees aren't like bearings on a wheel. They don't have a certain amount of time before they give out. Something like running has actually been shown to increase cartilage turnover and be protective against things like arthritis for your knees. Now, runners feel knee pain more often, and so do lifters, because you're demanding a lot of yourself, and you only know that you're in pain because you start demanding a lot of yourself. But if you stop lifting for a month, it's totally possible that the only reason you feel pain is because you're not recovering well, or because you're overextending yourself. So answer, keep squatting. But in terms of hip sled, you could use that if your knees are particularly sensitive and it feels better. There's no problem with that at all. Oh, wow. Hey, Mitch, I started following you the day you beat Brian in 2022 when you had 5,000 followers on YouTube. Just want to say thank you for everything you've done and for bringing everyone along for the ride. Yeah, anyone who's followed me on YouTube for a long time has been along for the better part of 3.5 years of my life. So cool to be able to have it all documented, to be able to look back on that one day. But hopefully there's a lot more story to write before I look back on anything. Mitch, you suggested glute bridges as an accessory for, I believe, squats. But let's say in the context that I want to do another accessory, could I do hip thrusts instead? To me, hip thrusts and glute bridges are the same thing. So yeah, I think so. It's the same movement pattern. Don't really matter. It doesn't really matter to me where the weight is, but yeah. Jay, sorry it took so long to get to this one. Is there any specific competition title that means the most to you? Any records you'd like to chase before and after the deadlift? No records I want to chase after the deadlift. I don't think the log is out of the question for me. But deadlift is it. Like deadlift is the record that people care about. So, and I fall into that category. Lifting weight off of the ground. It's just that is so simple, and that is the thing that that I think is the most primal test of strength. In terms of competition title, the one that means the most to me, um, I think my strongest man on earth probably means the most. That was the most difficult. It's just such a hard show. But World's Strongest Man, that gets you a lot further than anything else. And you can't pretend otherwise. So, World's Strongest Man is something that I would definitely love to win again if I could choose to win a competition again. But they're all great for different reasons, of course. Uh, let's see. Is there a reason most guys don't do bench on a regular basis anymore? Brian, Eddie, etc. Always did it. Yeah, look, I just don't think it translates to overhead press all that well. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't do it because it's not programmed for me. I have nothing against it. If I was told to bench on a regular basis, I definitely would. And I think it could be a good idea to offload the spine by bench pressing. But if you can train more specifically for what you're looking to do, then it's definitely always a good option. A bit of Twitch action going. What's up, Mitchell, in the chat? How's your day going? My day is going swimmingly. I feel like I've been in meetings all day. Some good meetings. I was chatting to Devin Larat, so stay tuned for stuff with him very soon. Talking to a number of people about things that you will see all of them, but I can't talk about them yet. So tons of exciting stuff down the pipeline for sure. Do you think most pro strongmen can do more reps of pull-ups or chin-ups or bodyweight strict press? Peyton. Um, I think bodyweight strict press, just because so many guys are so heavy. Yeah, like me, for example, I can do good. I would say I could do 8 pull-ups right now. Um, could I do 8 reps at 140? I don't think so. I think for me it might be pull-ups, but for most guys, I think it would be strict presses. Should the questions we ask you only be fitness related or what? I mean, that's my educational background. I've won World's Strongest Man. I've won every strongman competition in the world at the pro level. So that's my particular area of expertise. If you want to ask something else, then always feel free to fire away. Uh, Dalton. Dalton with a good chat here. Sorry. First, what is your opinion on Dirty Nick Kurz? I don't know who that person is. Yeah. Yeah. Got me. Your bands. Shame. Um, in your video about taking a break, you made it sound like you might be having a change of plans regarding career length. How much longer are you thinking now? Trying to gauge my excitement accordingly. um, how much longer do I think I could go? At the rate I was at, honestly, I didn't tell many people this. I told my team this at the beginning of this year. I thought if I went flat out as I was, I had this year and next year was going to be my last year. Uh, but I've just reassessed a lot and like the purpose of what I'm doing and just the nature of how I tend to rush through everything in life. Um, and if my career was done at, I could be done by my attitude was I could be done at 30 years old, 31 years old, not have to work anymore, do whatever I wanted to do, go try and do an Ironman, whatever. But then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, say I did, and like I really love strongman and competing, and I run myself into the ground, I give up. Well, why? Just for the sake of it. I would guess that I'd be around for the Arnold, Worlds, and Rogue for sure for the next, I'll say maybe 5 years. I've been in the sport this is my 4th year, and it doesn't feel like I've been in that long. I really don't feel like I remember before I competed in strongman. I remember before I had a YouTube channel. It's all relatively new, and I only competed in strongman as an amateur for a year and a half before I was at World's Strongest Man. So I would say 5 years longer. And I think over that period of time, I'm good for another, I would hope, 2 World's Strongest Man titles. That would be awesome. Maybe 3 more World's Strongest Man titles, a couple more Arnolds. I'd love a 4-peat at the Arnold next year. I've never lost at the Arnold, so that's a really good motivator as well. So yeah, I think maybe 5 years, and I compete until I'm 34 or 35. Yeah, that would be my guess. Sean, since you don't have to worry about staying fresh for Smo this year when you're in Loveland, just take a day to go to Rocky Mountain National Park and see your first moose in the wild. I would love to see a moose. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, maybe I could go for a hike, but I'm going to make the most of the trip. We've got some stuff lined up. Dalton says an LHBK affiliate hike. We could always do that. We could line it up. We've got a cool events that we haven't talked about yet that we're just working through the details on. At Strongest Man on Earth, we're going to do a community workout of sorts at a gym where I'm going to go train and invite everyone who wants to join along to train after one of the days of competition. Just have a bunch of fun, invite everyone, whatever. Yeah. But we've been on half an hour just chatting away. So I think that is it for me, guys. Thank you very much for popping in and saying hello. Go ahead, leave a like, leave a comment. And as per usual, lift ever be kind. Hopefully we see lots of you guys out at Strongest Man on Earth. I'm at Ontario Strongman Provincials this weekend, going and taking that in, falling in love with amateur local strongman again. So very much looking forward to that. So thanks a lot, guys. Until
haters talking to me, tell them pipe down. Or it's lights out, zeros on the debit, baby, all I do is swipe now. Gucci sweater 5,000, stunning, buzzing. I be going up, no ceiling. Wow, ballin', running, getting to the paper, I'm peeling out. They gon' know me as legendary. You in the stands, I ain't need no commentary. If you the competition, you gon' get buried. I don't cheat on the game, we getting married. Yeah. They gon' know me as legendary.